Tom Brady is really retired, but a fair amount of the roster remains intact. What can we expect from Tampa in 2023? It's Bucks Day, and we're breaking them down from every angle today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On NFL Scouting your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much.
Joe, happy National Mid-Atlantic does not get rain for at least an hour day to you.
I'm happy to hear that for you.
Well, because you remember last month was like the drought of all droughts. And now it's rained like 7 consecutive days.
I'm going to give you a weird segue, but I got to fit this in. And I've been wrestling with this for the last hour if I wanted to bring this up on the podcast. And you said Mid-Atlantic, and Mid-Atlantic was all I needed to give me the inch necessary to bring this up. But did you know that in 1982, in the National Football League, a kicker won the NFL MVP award?
Was unaware of this.
Dude. Okay,
that was the strike season, right?
It was. They played 9 games. Doesn't matter. 1982.
I think that's highly relevant.
No. It doesn't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Marcus Allen or Dan Fouts deserved to be the NFL MVP this year. I looked it up today. Mark Mosley, a kicker for Washington, won the NFL MVP. Kyle,
because
he was 20 of 21 on field goals. He was 16 of 19 on extra points. He didn't lead the league in scoring.
So why do you win the NFL MVP?
I can't answer that. My brother texted me about an hour before we did this podcast. He goes, dude, did you know that in 1982, a kicker won the NFL MVP award? And I'm like, no. How did I not know that? And then I looked it up and it made less sense. I'm like, okay, certainly he was like 50 of 50, scored 290 points or something. No, he was like, he missed. He was 16 of 19 on extra points.
So
Marcus Allen had 14 touchdowns in 9 games.
He led the league in field goals, and he led the league in made field goal percentage. This dude didn't even kick a field goal beyond 50 yards this season. He did not make a single field goal.
What happened?
Now, to his credit, the following year, I think, was an outstanding year.
Right, it was 95%.
62 he was only 70% from field goals.
What was the 95%? I remember
that was that was the MVP season. He was 95%
no,
of field goals,
20 of 21. Yeah, I got you.
But he made 62 extra points the following year in 83.
The 19-yard extra points, by the way, folks.
Yeah,
he was 16 of 19 the MVP year.
Yeah, we'll have to do our research here. I don't have any justification.
This is going to wreck your day, and that's good because I needed someone else.
What is the 1982 UPI NFC MVP? What is that?
No clue. But this was UPI? The AP NFL MVP as well. So with UPI, I don't know what that means. But are you kidding?
The 1982 SN Player of the Year. I don't even know what that is either.
Sporting News Player of the Year. That's got to be what it is.
Wikipedia is going to tell us here. But anyway, in the meantime, I had something else for you, and now I've forgotten it. What a bummer.
We could talk about the Buccaneers.
We could talk about the Bucs. It'll come to us. So we're going to talk about the Bucs here today on the show. We are continuing our series of exploring player buckets and quality of roster and roster construction. And Joe, you just had to find a way to mention he who shall not be named in the pre-show and in the intro, the cold open. Tom Brady, we checked our box. We've obligatory now mentioned him twice. Off into the sunset. This Tampa Bay offense, other than a change at left tackle and probably an upgrade at right tackle at the expense of a downgrade or upgrade at left tackle at the expense of a downgrade at right tackle. We brought most of it back. Leonard Fournette is currently a free agent. That's kind of a big departure, but was largely ineffective last year behind that offensive line. They had a lot of youth on that offensive line to go with Cody Mauch as a new addition. Young players at the tight end room. They drafted another one. The wide receiver pillars are still the wide receiver pillars. What do we think here for the Kyle Trask / Baker Mayfield led Tampa Bay offense?
I think he's got nice weapons. I think this trio of Mike Evans, who just every year wakes up and has 1,000 yards. I mean, just an incredible start to his career. And it's like, it's weird to say start because he's like 9 years into it or something like that. But every year this man is productive. Chris Godwin, another quality starter to go with him. And Russell Gage, I think, is a nice number 3 there in terms of wide receivers. I like the youth and Cade Otton at tight end. I think he's going to be a good starter for them. Rachaad White is a flashy starting running back. And so I think from a supporting cast, skill players, it looks pretty good. And the offensive line is where I might have the most questions. I mean, you certainly love Tristin Wirfs. You love Ryan Jensen, but you know, Shaq Mason's no longer part of this group. We'll see what Cody Mauch can do as a rookie. Luke Godecki, probably one of your starters. I mean, I thought there was some traction for him to play guard. Maybe he's the right tackle. I think there's some things to kind of sort out here. The good news is you have some versatility with Godecki, with Mauch, with Filer, with Hainsey, right, to kind of figure out some of your spots on this offensive line. I wish I felt a little bit better about what was around Jensen and Wirfs for this front 5. They have options, but it does need to come together, and it's going to be necessary for them to have a chance with whoever plays quarterback. I feel like it has to be Baker Mayfield. I never watched Kyle Trask a moment in my life at Florida and thought to myself, NFL starter. And so I think their best opportunity to win is Baker Mayfield.
Another dagger in the heart of Kyle Trask.
I'll keep sending the daggers.
I haven't forgot your first one.
No, I won't either. He won't either. So there you go.
That's funny. People don't. We'll save that story for another day.
I mean, yeah, save it for another day. I don't know if we'll ever say it, but just know that there's something there when it comes to my analysis on Kyle Trask and him not being happy with it.
I'm excited for the young tight ends, Cade Otton and Kokife. And obviously, Otton played a lot. Otton played a lot of snaps for a rookie tight end in a room that had other players, you know, between Brait and Kyle. They had brought in Kyle Rudolph last season.
Yeah.
And Otton still managed to get a lot of run. I think he's going to quickly materialize as an adequate level starter / we'll see what the ceiling is there. But I think his floor is an adequate level starter at tight end. And I think he's well on his way because he handled all of the snaps he took as a rookie pretty well last year. Kieft is a little bit more hybrid type. If you're going to run 12, you could put him in the backfield. You could put him at inline tight end. He'll kick your butt in the run game all day long.
Kokife's your favorite player in the NFL.
He's definitely my favorite player on this roster.
Just like not just for whatever. Like I feel like you have found ways over the last year to talk about Kokife at a clip that didn't make any sense.
Have you seen the clips at Minnesota? Yes. Then you know why.
You just love this man. You love him.
He is a bulldozer. He will snatch your soul. Excited to get Ryan Jensen back. I think that's having him healthy all season, presuming he is healthy all season, is a massive, massive, massive win for the interior. Because I guess it is a little discouraging to look at Hainsey and Godecki and Leverett, right? These were fairly recent additions for that offensive line, and they had to shuffle it all last year when Jensen went down and missed time. And if we're going to call it as it is, they were brutal last year. The interior of the line was brutal last year. They could not run the ball to save their lives. They got push on nobody. So to get Jensen back as the pillar there and then put Godecki and Hainsey and Leverett in a position to be competing amongst each other instead, like, hey, we need all you guys, I think is a huge win. And then you add Cody Mauch on top of that. We'll see what that evolution looks like. Obviously, they departed with Shaq Mason. They traded him to Houston. So the upheaval there, I think, is really fascinating to watch. But Jensen being back, I think, is going to be a glue piece that is going to give them a fighting chance. Now, I don't know how much I like this running back room, if I'm being honest with you.
It's very fair to criticize it.
I think we're plenty optimistic about Rachaad White coming out of Arizona as a multifaceted back. And he had some volume opportunities when Leonard Fournette, his limitations as a player were expanded upon by how bad they were on the interior last year. Chase Edmonds, we'll kind of have to come to consensus on Chase Edmonds, but I don't think it's a coincidence that Keyshawn Vaughn was a 3rd-round pick, and they've since invested a lot in the running back position to get other guys in there. So I just think that group leaves a little something to be desired for a unit that I don't think you're going to want Baker Mayfield throwing the ball 750 times a season like you had with Tom Brady last year.
2 quick follow-ups here to close out our conversation on the offensive side of the football. Number one is that I do think the pronunciation police are coming for us. I said Cody Mauch. You said Cody Mauch. Not sure what the correct way is, but we're in trouble. Someone's getting arrested. And then
I said both, so I said it right either way.
Okay. Well, and then the other one is Luke. Is it Godecki? Is it Godecki? I don't know. Someone's coming. Yeah, we're getting
Godecki, Godecki. I said them both, so I said it right either way.
All right. So there we go.
We will offline and make sure we figure it out.
The other thing is probably a huge part of this offense is no longer being under the coordination of Byron Leftwich, who really struggled last year, and I've not enjoyed him as their coordinator. Just it's not enough of the things in terms of play action, balance. I know that
play action's a myth, Joe.
It's not a myth. And
once upon a time, he was the hottest head coaching candidate.
Said no to the Jags. Said no.
Said no.
Get out of here. But how about Dave Canales taking over this offense as a coordinator? Something that I'm sure Bucs fans are very, very excited about, and I think is necessary for them to kind of take the next step here, despite having a major turnover on the O-line and at quarterback. All right, so we're going to shift our focus to the defensive side of the football here in just a moment, but first need to tell you about FanDuel. Baseball season is in full swing, and there's simply no better place to get in on the action than over at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to join today. And folks, I love betting over at FanDuel. It's a safe, secure, and easy-to-use website. They have great promotions every day, and the football's futures bets are a ton of fun. So whether you want to bet on the over-under for projected win totals for each team, player props when it comes to rushing, receiving, passing statistics, week 1 odds are available for you right now. The awards, so the NFL MVP odds and comeback player of the year, all that stuff is over at FanDuel. So don't miss your chance to snag a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
I have the book on Mark Mosley, by the way.
Wow.
Do you want to know why he won?
Yes, I do. I'm more than anything in the world. I want to know why this man won the MVP in 1982.
So during these strikes, this is courtesy of Wikipedia.
Okay.
During the strike-shortened 1982 season, Mosley converted 23 straight field goals across 1981 to 1982, a then NFL record. He made a league-leading 20 of 21 field goals, a then NFL record 95.2% success rate, and was responsible for 76 points. He became the first place kicker to ever win the AP NFL Most Valuable Player. Joe, can you name the other 2 kickers who have won MVP but did so while also playing other positions?
Tom Dempsey?
It's a good guess now.
It's these guys in the 60s, man.
It is, yeah. Lou Groza and George Blanda.
Yeah, all right.
One playing tackle and the other playing quarterback.
Incredible.
Also your kicker.
Incredible.
But Mosley won AP NFL MVP and then missed 4 field goals in the playoffs.
Wow. Well, it's a regular season award. But here's okay, you still haven't given me a good enough reason that he should have won it over Fouts or Marcus Allen. But I can respect the field goal percentage thing because field goal kickers have just gotten so much better. like if you remember Morton Anderson, right? Like, is he a Hall of Fame kicker, if I'm not mistaken, or one of these Andersons is a Hall of Fame? I don't know. The guy was like below 80% for his career. Like back in the 80s, these field goal kickers were in the 70%. Now, if you're not upper 80s in the NFL, you don't have a chance.
Morton Anderson is in the NFL Hall of Fame. 79.7% of his field goals made, whereas Mark Mosley made 65% of his career field goals. He was also a guy who kicked it directly on.
Oh, yeah.
Like the straight ahead toe kicker.
I, as a fellow toe kicker from my one season of doing it in high school, I can appreciate that. Anyway. Get some knucklers, but
the Bucks
my best
defense.
chance. Bucks fans are so mad at us. Like, what are you doing hijacking our episode?
You get plenty of time. You're going to get an extra 5 minutes of the show because we had playful banter about 1982 AP NFL MVP kicker.
I still don't have the reason why you won it.
Defense, Bucks defense.
We got some blue chip talent on this defense, man. We really do. Right now, consensus roster cornerstones: Vita Vea, Lavonte David, Antoine Winfield. Quality starters: Shaq Barrett, Jamel Deal, Carlton Davis. You've got some young players in a Kalijah Cansey who you picked in the first round that I'm sure there's some high expectations for. Joe Tryon Shoyinka, year 3 for him. I mean, how does that develop? How does he emerge? So I think this is where your best concentration of talent is. And obviously Todd Bowles is a defensive-minded head coach. There's a lot to work with here. More so, I have less questions about the defense than I do the offense.
Yeah.
And really the offensive questions really are centered around the quarterback position, right? I think the rest of it's passable, right? No. But I think there's a nice stable of players here on this defense that excites me on all three levels.
Let's have a conversation about Lavonte David.
Sure.
Who was awesome last year.
Every year he's awesome.
What are your thoughts? I think we both agreed he's a cornerstone player.
Mm-hmm.
But what are your thoughts on Lavonte David coming back to Tampa, with Tampa being in the position that they are in from a transitional standpoint, from a salary cap standpoint, from a void year or from a dead cap perspective? Like, it just surprised me. And they obviously got him on a pretty strong deal. Like, it's a pretty team-friendly deal in the grand scheme of things. But the only firm argument that I had for this being the right move for Tampa was Todd Bowles has to win to keep his job.
Well, so seeing it from the player side of things, I mean, people stay in places or don't stay in places for different reasons, and maybe Lavonte.
I don't have an exception with Lavonte doing that.
Well, I mean, but I think that's the surprise that I have. I don't doubt that the Bucks wanted him back, especially for the deal that they got him. But for Levante, surely there were opportunities for him out there to maybe go to a team that had a better chance, a more defined path moving forward, a quarterback, more resources to really build the thing back up. But surely he looks at himself as a Buck, right? And this is who he is. He wants to be part of this organization.
And I respect any player making whatever decision they feel is best for them. But when you're managing the team, that for me is where, the price is probably too good to pass up on. But at the same time, you're getting ready to undergo a major transition as a team. And you've got a lottery ticket at quarterback, or we'll see how that falls. I think you're going to be, you run the risk of being a little one-dimensional offensively. Defensively, I think we've talked about the pillars. I'm a little concerned about the depth everywhere. The depth everywhere is concerning. When you think about if there's an injury to Antoine Winfield Jr. as a cornerstone player at safety.
Right.
Ryan Neal was really good last year stepping in for Jamal Adams in Seattle. I think there's a little bit of a difference in how he's going to be asked to be utilized, but it's Nolan Turner, a UDFA from Clemson, and 2 UDFAs, and Kayvon Merriweather out of Iowa, and Izen. Pronunciation, please.
Oh, that was a siren, not a breaking news. Yeah.
You got me really excited.
No.
So you largely don't have anything behind Winfield to play that spot. Then you look at corner, right? And you got Jamel Deal and Carlton Davis, and they're both quality starters. Props to both Todd Bowles and also for the brain trust there for going after those guys with their profiles as big, long, athletic, physical corners. Because they've hit a home run with both of those guys. I think they're both very, very effective outside NFL corners. But it's Zion McCollum, Anthony Chesley, D. Delaney right now is projected as your starting nickel if you go with the nickel corner. Don Gardner. Like, what do we have here? I think that's the story on defense is like your starters are really good, but because of the salary cap alignment that you undertook to maintain and extend your Super Bowl winning window, which you have every right to do, just like Tampa. But this is the cost of it, right? Is now you're seeing, well, Tom retires. We're on the hook for the dead money. We can't really pay to bring in a lot of depth. So we're a very top-heavy roster as a result on this side of the ball.
I think another X factor for this defense is two young defensive linemen, one being Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, year 3, and Logan Hall was their top pick right last year. I don't think he had a very good rookie season, and they're looking at him to be an answer, right? I know that Greg Gaines was a nice free agent addition. I love that idea of, if Kalijah Kancey is who they think he is, right? Vita Vea and Greg Gaines, that's a pretty nice odd front trio. But I think the success of their D-line is going to be a lot more about Logan Hall's development, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, Shaq Barrett coming back healthy, right? That was crappy right last year to see him go down as well. So, I think
and Yaya Diaby is another
super athletic,
has a lot of opportunity here on this front.
Yeah. So I think that stuff's going to be interesting in addition to Devin White. And, we did an entire episode on Devin White. We don't view him as a $20 million a year player like he does. And what do they do? What's the path forward here? He's not a player that I'd want to have a lot invested in. I think he's been extremely one-dimensional and inconsistent to start his career, but he makes some splashy plays behind the line of scrimmage that I think skews the overall narrative when you actually watch him on a snap-to-snap basis. So, what does he look like in his contract year? And I think we've seen players recently, linebackers, Tremaine Edmonds, Roquan Smith, like, not that they were as shaky, but like clearly played their best football in a contract year. What does that look like for Devin White?
So that's the defense for the Bucs. We're going to come to consensus here on Tampa Bay. We have a couple players that we got to sort out. We're going to do that next here on Locked On NFL Scouting. Okay, Joe. We've got 1, 2, 3 players.
Okay.
According to my sheet down here in front of me that we need to come to consensus on. Let's start with Deidrin Senat.
Okay.
Backup nose tackle.
Yep.
Or we should say Vita Vea's backup. I think Senat has the build, the frame. He's not one of these soft, big-bodied guys who's just there because he's a big-body guy. I think there is a certain level of athleticism here that you also get. So it's the blend for me of being light-footed for a for a big guy, but then also having an anchor and a squatty frame that has me wanting to put him in the quality depth bucket. I don't think he's ever going to be a high snap volume taker for you, nor should he be. But I think as a backup nose tackle space eater, I think he's a quality depth option.
All right, if you boil it down to that lens, I'm probably going to be willing to meet you there. I think my concern with Deidrin Senat is a third-round pick for Atlanta in 2018. Desperately have needed an answer next to Grady Jarrett. And across 3 seasons, he didn't even get to – well, no, he got injured in 2021, right? Just not a lot of volume in terms of snaps played. And then he spent last year with Tampa and played 168 snaps for the entire season, including the playoff game. And so I think if you can appreciate him as just a low volume of snaps, backup, run stuffing nose tackle, all right, that's fine. I can be convinced that he's quality depth, but
lock him in.
I just wish there was a little bit more from my third guy here on this front.
Well, that's where you need Logan Hall to really elevate, right? And that was the guy you spent your first pick on in 2022 on.
Traded back, right?
Traded back, but still top 35 pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jake Camarda. I put in complete evaluation.
Yeah.
Full transparency because he's just entering into his second season. But you made a very good point in the pre-show that we wanted to acknowledge.
Yeah.
To have congruency with how we've handled a similar situation.
Yeah, we gave Stonehouse the quality starter tag as a rookie punter last year for Tennessee, and I
All
thought
100 Tennessee Titan fans watch that on YouTube.
Yeah, where were y'all at? Where were y'all
What
at?
the heck was that about?
Tighten down. That's what they told us. Yeah, the YouTube audience is hit or miss. The regular the podcast feeds, you guys are a lot more consistent, but YouTube's always fun. What are we talking about? Oh, Jake Kamara. Yeah, I thought he was every bit as good as Stonehouse. I think the NFL infused a lot of talent at the punter position last year, and Jake Kamara was one of those guys for me.
And because we gave Ryan Stonehouse a quality starter designation, in spite of it only being a 1-year sample size because he was that good, we are doing the same thing here. So you get a quality punter. And that leaves Chase Edmonds.
Yeah.
As our last consensus discussion to have.
Yep.
And I know Chase Edmonds all too well.
Well, do you? You have 42 rushes in 8 games. So
I know he dropped that touchdown pass in the end zone against the Bengals on the opening possession.
So this is if I were to set the scene on the Chase Edmonds conversation, I'm not
because you put him quality depth.
I did. I'm not a big Chase Edmonds fan. I've never, and I say this a lot. Like I think about being an opposing team and facing a player, and how does that make me feel? And it makes me feel no type of way about Chase Edmonds, right? Like I've never been a big fan. But I want to be careful to not put too much into last year. Obviously, he earned a decent contract from the Dolphins. He lasted half the season.
Contract was $6 million per season.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent contract.
Joe, it's like a top 10 contract over the last 10 years.
Yeah, they probably thought he was a little better than quality depth or replacement level.
And they got 2.9 yards per carry and 5 drops for their effort.
Wasn't good. He goes to Denver and doesn't really do much either. But like that, last year was not a great year for Chase Edmonds. And I would say you could look at both of those situations. Miami, first 8 games with a completely new offense. And, he didn't assimilate himself very well to it and got cut. And then he goes to Denver, and that was an absolute mess all year. But he still earned that contract because he did have some quality years in Arizona.
And then Denver had him after the trade deadline, and you said, you know what? No guaranteed money on your deal. We don't want you either. You're cut.
Understood.
2 teams punted on him, and technically 3 teams punted on him.
Right. So, like, if you want to put everything into last year, I have nothing to say to you. But if you do look at what he did in Arizona, being a pass catcher, right, having some production there, being a complimentary back, I think that's what leaned into the quality depth label. If you want to point to everything last year, I have nothing I can say to you.
I will concede. Players are not defined by a single season. That's a fair argument to make. So we will begrudged put Chase Edmonds as a quality depth player. Because you met me with Deidrin Sanat. So that's the
I didn't think that was going to happen.
Branch.
That wasn't going to happen. I went into this not thinking I was going to concede on Deidrin Sanat. I thought I was going to have to fall into you on Edmonds because I didn't think that you'd be willing to move.
So that's the Bucs. Big picture, looking at this roster, final thoughts.
Well, I think you look at this roster, we've talked about it. It's this entire division where I don't know, you could talk me into any one of those 4 teams winning it.
Right.
And like maybe it's the first to 9 wins for this division. And if you do it, guess what you get to do? Host a playoff game at home.
Yeah, congrats on hosting either the Eagles or Cowboys.
Ooh.
Because that's who you'll get.
Wait, Niners are the 1 seed? You're just giving it to them?
No, but you're a 4 seed. The Niners aren't not winning the South.
Oh, Lord.
Or winning the West.
Yeah, good point. Thanks for that. Yeah.
So, yes, I think you'll probably see the same layout because that was last year. Tampa won at 8-9 and hosted Dallas.
Yeah.
And after Dallas got thumped by Tampa to open the season, Dallas returned the favor in the playoffs.
Yeah. I'd say it's a pretty logical outcome for whoever wins this division. It could be the Bucs. If you're going to say if it's the Bucs, it will be because of
the defense
and enough playmakers on offense at receiver.
Yeah, I just think I think they need somebody to step up. You've got Godwin and Evans, and Russell Gage we had as an adequate level starter as a slot. Really fun player, like his story coming out of LSU, being a big teams guy, like all that. It's really fun. Either Rachaad White or K. Dotton has to elevate to a different level, I think, for you offensively to have enough spacing challenges to play winning football with the quarterback situation being what it is. And we got to kickstart the offensive line. And like even your best player there in Tristin Wirfs, like he's playing a new position this year.
Yeah.
So I think the weapons are going to have to really elevate and the defense is going to have to play well. So that's the path in my eyes. But our path is done. Joe, we have a treat for everybody on Thursday night.
Oh, good reminder, Kyle.
I got it in the bottom ticker here right now.
Oh, that's clutch. Has it been down there the whole time?
Yes, it has.
Yeah.
But and those of you who are not on YouTube, you might be surprised to find out that we have a live stream edition of Takes on Takes coming on Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So come with your takes locked and loaded. We're going to interact and have fun this Thursday, 9 p.m. on the Locked On NFL Scouting YouTube channel.
So hit subscribe. It's your teams every day here. We appreciate you guys. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You will get the Takes on Takes on the podcast feed, but come on Thursday night with hot takes for Takes on Takes for the live stream on YouTube as well. Locked On NFL Scouting. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He's Joe Marino. We are the Draft Dudes, and we are out of here. Make it a great rest of your day. We'll talk to y'all again tomorrow.